The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
If the Canucks acquire Sam Bennett for like $10 million a year in a couple of months, isn't that like gonna scare Elias Pettersson? Because doesn't Sam Bennett kind of look like JT? Should we? You know what? The Canucks got to spend some money.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, and also a Canucks writer currently with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into the show, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks, because it is your Canucks every damn day. We're not here without you tuning in, and we're also not here without those sponsors. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at Monarch Money for 50% off of your first year. Kyle, you said it. The Canucks, they probably got to spend some money this offseason. And while they might not have as much money to spend as some other NHL teams, despite the cap going up, it's clear that they need to go big game hunting. So if that's the case, all eyes should firmly be on this Toronto-Florida series, because should the Canucks target either one of Mitch Marner or Sam Bennett this offseason, what could it cost them? Does it make sense for the Canucks? Let's dive into that to kick off the show. Later on in the show, I do want to touch on Kiefer Sherwood. And can he be a core piece of the Vancouver Canucks? Can he be the next Carter for Hagee? We'll also touch on the coaching search, narrowing down other news and notes. But before we get to all of that, let me introduce my co-host, Kyle Bowen. What's going on, brother?
People, the day after Mother's Day. Okay? Straight up. And now Trevor's met my girlfriend's parents the same amount of times as I've met my girlfriend's parents. More on that later. How is this happening? It's all connected. Speaking of my girlfriend, let me know in the comments, okay? My girlfriend, she has no kids. She doesn't have my kids. I think she deserves something on Mother's Day, okay? I don't want to allow my girlfriend to not feel important when all these other women are being important. Why? Because I'm loyal, okay? Speaking of importance, okay, it is so important for Quinn Hughes to be impressed. And that's why I think ASAP, like right away, if the Canucks can't, do the science, do the math, make the trades, that they're going to have to go out there and do their best to bring Sam Bennett or Mitch Marner to the Vancouver Canucks when their UFAs on July 1st. I know it sounds crazy, but we don't talk about this enough, Trevor.
Yeah. Look, with either of these players, I got some hesitations. Let's start with Mitch Marner. I mean, Mitch Marner, he's likely going to make Auston Matthews money, right? With the cap going up, with the season he just had, hitting 100 points for the first time. And look, he's got 12 points in 10 playoff games as well. Mitch Marner is going to be a $13+ million player. And I thought Mitch Marner was really good in the first round and through the first couple of Maple Leafs wins. A little quieter, I'd say, in games 3 and 4 against the Florida Panthers. But maybe it's just the Elias Pettersson, Mitch Marner thing together in Vancouver. I just don't see that being a winning team. And look, I get the desperation to, make a splash to keep Hughes in Vancouver, but giving Mitch Marner, $13.5 million, giving him the future Quinn Hughes contract, is that really the answer? Man, oh man, I'm not quite sure if Mitch Marner in Vancouver is really the answer for building a Stanley Cup contender here.
I know. Okay, you know what? I've watched a lot of Mitch Marner recently, and you want more offensively from him if you're a Maple Leafs fan, ASAP, right? Especially over the last 2 games. But overall, he's a strong player. Like, he's a really good defensive player too. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he's actually good. Now, you want to pay a guy that much if he doesn't show up in the playoffs? Again, a big 3 games coming up for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't know, but Trevor, like, just think about it from Quinn Hughes' perspective, right? Like, how does this team get better if they can't pull off these miracle trades? And then you have either Sam Bennett or Mitch Marner available on July 1st. If I'm Quinn Hughes, I just want my team, I think, like holding meetings, holding court, giving offers out. No? Like
Oh,
they
I
have
think
to
the
be in the
Canucks
mix. They
absolutely.
have to be in
Yeah,
the mix.
I think the Canucks absolutely got to do that. Like they got a court and they got to see, right. I mean, you're not winning if you're not trying. And yeah, no, again, call me a hater, call me crazy, but I just, again, you've seen Mitch Marner have these big ebbs and flows, especially in the playoffs. We already got a guy in Elias Pettersson who's had some ebbs and flows for sure. And are those two going to be your top two forwards that are going to lead this team to a Stanley Cup? I just think it's greater than that. And, look, I think one instructive piece too is, look at the teams that have won Stanley Cups. And maybe this will help Toronto this season, but you typically have, at least 3, if not 4 impact forwards, right? The Canucks right now have 0, unless you're, bouncing Elias Pettersson bouncing back. So even with Pettersson and Marner in the fold, again, I'm just not quite sure that that's enough. And honestly, I got a similar retort for Sam Bennett. Obviously, a very different conversation. Mitch Marner, his career high in points this year, 102 points. Sam Bennett's career high in points, 51. Half of that number of Mitch Marner. Both totals happened this season. Both are career highs for their players. And look, Sam Bennett, he's just a force in the playoffs, right? And you saw it over
so good.
Florida. 5 goals now in 8 games. Sam Bennett, I think everyone would be applauding it if he came to Vancouver, but at what cost?
Dude,
like Sam Reinhart, the other Sam in Florida, got paid $8.7 million a season to stay in Florida. If Sam Bennett hits the open market, he's going to make Sam Reinhart money. And he's got a career high of 51 points. I mean, look, I think he looks great on a Florida team that is, absurdly stacked. You bring him to the Vancouver Canucks, where he's now the second best forward. I'm just not sure if that's a recipe for success either. And I know Canuck fans, you want solutions. I just don't know if signing either one of these players to deals that are going to be around 10 million or north of 10 million is really going to be the answer to fix the Vancouver Canucks.
Okay, can we do this though? Can we admit that like the regular season is overrated and that Sam Bennett is actually one of the best players in hockey? And can we also admit this too in a generation where, time in and time out, these old school GMs are spending like $4 or $5 million on number 5 defensemen because they're like huge and right-handed. Like there's going to come a time and point, especially soon, where I think we're going to be surprised at the amount of money teams are going to spew out to court Sam Bennett. I think he's going to get paid $10 million a year because, again, he's one of the best players in hockey. Can we stop doing this? Can we stop doing this straight up? Like he's doing it in year 3 in the playoffs for a Florida Panthers team that's made the last 2 Stanley Cup finals. And that's like be just as good as Matthew Tkachuk. Like he's good. He's really, really good when the games matter. And he's just so physical. He's a piece of shit. He draws attention. He injures goalies. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a guy that drives the bus. And I don't know, man, 51 points in the regular season. I know you got to make the playoffs to ultimately get the most out of this guy, but I don't really care that much that he's not a point per game player in the regular season. Like give me 20 points in 24 games in a Stanley Cup run, and that to me is like 110 points in the regular season. Like Sam Bennett is really, really good. And a couple months ago, best on best, Canada versus the world, right? Well, 4 other teams or 3 other teams. Sam Bennett, one of the best players in that tournament. Like time in and time out, this guy elevates his game, and yeah, like he's just one of the best players in hockey. Okay, for real. In my opinion, he is. Like screw the 51 points regular season bullshit. Like Sam Bennett is good. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. With the cap going up, right? It's going to be a $110 million cap in a couple seasons. Like I could easily see Sam Bennett making 10 million plus. But I guess my point is, like, you bring Sam Bennett to Vancouver. I'm actually more warm to the Sam Bennett idea than the Mitch Marner one, just because of how good Sam Bennett's been in the playoffs, because of how much of a POS he could be, because I think there's similarities between Marner and Pettersson at their peak, and the Canucks don't really have anything like Bennett, especially now with JT Miller gone. So I would rather pay the dough for Sam Bennett than Mitch Marner, even though statistically Mitch Marner is definitely a better player. But you look at Florida right now, and they're just so absurdly deep, right? I mean, Kyle,
you're right.
These playoffs, they have 8 players with 8 points so far to lead the team, right? Anton Lundell, Verhaeghe, Tkachuk, Reinhart, Marchand, Luostarinen, and Barkov and Bennett all have 8 points in 9 games.
Yeah.
I mean, they're an insanely deep team, and it's the reason why, to me right now, they're still the Cup favorite, even if Toronto took a 2-0 lead in that series. And again, you bring Bennett to Vancouver, and man, oh man, like you just need so much more. You're going to spend all your cap dollars on Sam Bennett this offseason. It does feel like a hero ball move that probably isn't going to pay off and isn't going to, keep Quinn Hughes in Vancouver.
No, the depth thing does matter. I mean, you watch Florida play and like all their players, like minus the good bullshit that Sam Bennett brings. Again, he's just such a POS. Like all their players are just so good. Straight Evan Rodriguez too. Like all their guys step up in the playoff. Like they just make plays. And yeah, bringing Sam Bennett here, you'd have to be like enthralled to be like the number 1 guy or the number 2 guy. And that, you do the math, it's probably not going to work out. But what if it does? Like, what if it does? What if with like not more of a role, but just like him being implemented in this lineup as a champion, right? Not a JT Miller. JT Miller's not a champion, but like Sam Bennett theoretically replacing the fire that JT Miller brought to this lineup. Like, what if he, he makes a guy like Pettersson tick? Like, it actually works. I don't know. But again, I'm convinced that as a Canucks, again, I think it would be scary. Let's be honest. Let's be real, Canucks fans. You sign this guy to 7 years and you give him a lot of money and Quinn Hughes still doesn't sign. It's like, okay, this is diabolical. Like, how are we going to, this could be Jonathan Huberdeau-esque, or like this could be just Oliver Ekman all over again. For real. 100%. It could be very, very bad, even with the cap going up. But if I'm an organization, I'm just taking the swings just to get lucky. And for me, keeping Quinn Hughes around, it's not just as good as winning a Stanley Cup, but it's like it expands the window. It does. And I just, again, if I'm Rutherford and Alvin and like late June isn't a time where there's a lot of trades and the Canucks are fixing the holes up their lineup, like what are they going to do? Do they think they can make those trades in August? Puck that. I think they get desperate and they try bringing Sam Bennett here to Vancouver. I really do. And you can make an argument that this team kind of needs a guy like Sam Bennett after letting go of JT Miller for Filipino, right? Now, and I'll also say this too. I know I'm saying a lot right now. Like in an alternate world, right? Like what if the Canucks still had JT Miller? We wrote about this more on the Substack thing in a little bit, but we, alternate universe. What if like Miller and Pettersson don't get into a scrap because they're in the biggest loser competition and Pettersson's weight and his fitness is like more important than trying to win a Stanley Cup with Quinn Hughes. But yeah, let's say Miller doesn't get traded. Alternate universe. Again, what the season is bad. We don't make the playoffs, but Miller is still in this lineup. How good would Sam Bennett look if it was like a good Pettersson, a good Miller, and then Sam Bennett on this team? And Jake DeBrusk and Kiefer Sherwood and Lecker Mackey elevating, Like, I don't know. There's pieces. I know it makes no sense, alternate universe, but I like Sam Bennett, man. I've been thinking about it for a long time, bro. Again, 18 years old, Sam Bennett. He's already won a Stanley Cup. This guy's only 18 years old. This guy could be a value buy for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, look how powerful this guy became when he lost his hair and just grew the beard, man. He became a different person, man. He returned from 18-year-old Sam Bennett to 43-year-old Sam Bennett, just kicking some ass, man.
Is that a shot at me? Is that a shot at me, Trevor? Bringing up the ball thing? Okay.
Could have been a shot at both of us, man. Who knows? Find out on the other side. But let's leave it up to the commenters. I mean, between the two, Mitch Marner and Sam Bennett, who would you rather chase if you're the Vancouver Canucks? And let's say it is $10 million for Sam Bennett or $13 million for Mitch Marner, just to make it a bit more of an interesting conversation. Connect with us here on YouTube Live or wherever you connect with your podcast platforms. Join the Discord as well. Link in the bio for that. Let's pause here on the other side. Speaking of truculence, I do want to talk a bit more about Kiefer Sherwood and what is the next level, if there is one, for Kiefer Sherwood, because I think that this mother effer, he's got more to give. You're listening to Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. Oh, man. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where the hell did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building your wealth. And Kyle, man, oh man, you were talking about the romance earlier. And did you know that Monarch Money, it also helps with your sex life? Wait, what? Managing money with your partner is now smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page as your spouse without the stress. So you know what that means? Less stress, more love making, baby.
No,
So
less
take
stress,
control
more
of your-
sex. That's
Yeah,
Trevor.
exactly.
Listen
Yeah.
to some rap, okay? Then that would have been an easy one for you, okay? You didn't have to
Yeah,
think too deep about that one, okay?
that's why my rap career died at age 11,
Yeah.
man. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNHL for half off of your first year, baby.
Boom, bam. People, we back doing this, and that's talking about your Vancouver Canucks, and we're also writing about your Vancouver Canucks. Trevor and I started a Substack, Begsy and Bowen. People think it's a transcript of our podcast. Shout out to all the subscribers on the Substack, but it's not. It's not a transcript of the podcast. It's just me and Trevor WhatsApping about the Canucks because I never shut up about this team. And once in a while, Trevor chooses me over his family. Speaking of Trevor and his family, man, you think I'm lying when I say Trevor's the second best dad in the world? My girlfriend ran into this dude yesterday at some park. And Trevor, man, you come on, man. I think you made her jealous, man. I'm not gonna lie. She saw you and your family frolicking and having the time of their life, rolling around the grass, smiling, laughing, joking. Again, your daughter, the comedian of the year. She's probably just the MVP every day, doing her thing. And my girl's like, yo, like, I see this family, and my parents are saying to me, like, yo, that's what life's all about. While they're just staring at you guys having the time of your lives. And little did they know, because I guess you guys bumped into each other like 10 minutes later, like that it was you. And now I gotta beat you, okay? When I have kids, you're gonna be the third best dad in the world, brother. Okay?
Yeah, sorry if my run-in with your girlfriend and her family yesterday, it might have accelerated the kid timeline for you, man. You know, a little thing called baby fever going on there.
Yeah.
So hey, man, you know, Mother's Day can be for love making. Kids or no kids, man. So you know, if your girl was feeling it yesterday, man, you could thank me for that, man. You're welcome.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry, but you're also welcome.
it's okay, man. My girlfriend also did say my bald spot is getting bigger. Yeah, she kissed it. You ever have a girl do that? Kiss your bald spot? Yeah. Anyways, Kiefer Sherwood, okay? Kiefer Sherwood. You're thinking about him. And I think you're thinking about him because your intuition, your sources, they're telling you that the Canucks are gonna extend this guy come July 1st. Right? He's eligible for an extension, and you're comparing him to Carter Verhaeghe. You could compare him to a lot of players on that Florida team. I mean, you watch Florida play, and you're like, holy! If they had Kiefer Sherwood, it would make sense. It would make sense. Like you could put Kiefer Sherwood in that lineup without any practice time, and he would still give Florida value. The real talk, he'd be Paul Maurice's favorite player. So yeah, well, why is Sherwood on your mind?
Oh man, well I think one of the biggest travesties of this Canucks season is the fact that we didn't get to see Kiefer Sherwood in the playoffs. And you know, look, we saw him in that National Series, obviously as a member of the Predators. He only had 1 goal in 6 games, kind of playing in a lesser role. But you know, Kiefer Sherwood, he elevated his game last season. And I started thinking about Carter Verhaeghe on the Florida Panthers a little bit too, right? So obviously Carter Verhaeghe, before he became a full-time NHLer, much like Sherwood, was just tearing it up in the AHL. And you know, he had to grind through the ECHL as well for a while. Even though he's a 3rd-round pick, he was just between AHL and ECHL, and then had 82 points in 76 games for his final AHL season in 2018-19. The next season with Tampa, he gets a cup banner on a very limited role, and then he goes to Florida and he starts steadily climbing. And I think about Kiefer Sherwood with the Vancouver Canucks and a bit of a similar path, although Sherwood is older than Verhaeghe, right? Verhaeghe is 1 year younger. He's obviously been in the NHL for now 5 years with the Florida Panthers. So there's less runway for Sherwood, but I look at Sherwood, the jump he took from last season with the Preds to this season, right? Where he was kind of 27 points, 10 goals in a 4th-line role. He's a great story because he finally carved out an NHL role. He comes to Vancouver on that cheap contract, and you're thinking if he's a impact 4th-liner, great. But then he comes to Vancouver, he has 19 goals, he has 40 points. I would say he was a solid middle 6 player, but at times did not look at a place in the top 6 role. And despite the fact that Sherwood is 30 years old, I just wonder if he's got another level to his game now that he's gotten this taste of NHL success. And, you know, Carter Verhaeghe Hagee, for instance, in his first year in Florida, he had 18 goals and 36 points. He did it in 43 games. So obviously the offensive potential was evident pretty early on. The next season, he goes up to 24 goals and 55 points in 78 games. I just wonder if there's a jump like that for Sherwood in this game. And it wouldn't shock me if there is, because this Canucks team right now, I mean, we heard Rutherford say it. They got to go get, 3 other impact forwards this offseason. That seems very unlikely. And if you're looking for candidates from within to, push their way up the lineup, everyone's going to look to the young guys like Lekkermacki, who I don't think is really ready for that. Wow. And a guy like Sherwood, I think he is ready for that opportunity to be a potential top 6 guy. And it wouldn't shock me next season if he gets to that, 25 goal, 50-ish point mark for your Vancouver Canucks, as long as he can stay healthy, because he plays a very physical style. So look, I don't think Sherwood's going to score 42 goals like Carter Verhaeghe did at his peak. He came back down to earth a bit this season in the regular season, although he's been great in the playoffs again. But I do think Sherwood's got like 25, maybe even pushing the 30 goal mark as his peak for your Vancouver Canucks. It wouldn't shock me if that comes next season.
You know what? Normally, Trevor, when we say things like that, and I feel as if we said similar things like that last year with a lot of our players, like it's all about the West Coast bias and we're being optimistic. But, when you watch 82 Canuck games a year, like we did this year, and you realize that, like, holy crap, Kiefer Sherwood's actually good. And if JT Miller had his shit together and if Pettersson was good all season, like, I wonder if Kiefer Sherwood could have hit 30 this year. Honestly speaking, that's how good he was. He was all over the ice, and he was how many goals did Sherwood have? 19 this year? Or 20? Did he hit 20?
19.
19. Okay, so he hit 19. And then I feel like a lot of that stuff was on his own. Sure, he banged some in and maybe got a one-timer here and there in front of the net, like did his thing, but there were some goals where he was just sniping them, making all the noise happen, just doing a lot of work solo. And I wonder if he did have a top 6 center to play with, because, again, the Canucks, for the most part, didn't have one of those guys all season long, which is crazy to think about. Crazy to think about. But what happens when he does? And it brings me back to this point. Let's find solutions. And I got to get out of here soon. Again, join the Substack, link in the bio. You'll really like the read. And maybe we have to talk about Kiefer Sherwood some more. But, dude, I think the Canucks got to sign Kiefer Sherwood this offseason. Because if he's a UFA going into next season and he has that, like, Pius Suter-like energy, but he's Kiefer Sherwood and he's going to put up 600 hits and score 27 goals, now you're talking about a $6 million player, a $5 million player. So do you get ahead of it? I think you got it. You got it. Because Kiefer Sherwood, in my opinion, it's only been one season of watching him for 82 games, but keep in mind, he's got the Quinn Hughes cosign. I feel as if Quinn Hughes, he analyzes the game. He knows that guy's a dog. He's really good. Like, there could be a really good player here. He's got to do it again next year as far as put up those offensive numbers. But if he does, like, let's say even puts up 20, just 20, but he picks up 600 hits, he's getting paid 4.5. I think he is a year. They got to get ahead of it this summer, Trevor. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Kyle. Again, there's some risk about signing a guy to a long-term deal when he's in his 30s, but I just think it's a bit different with Kiefer Sherwood because of the long road he took to get here, because of the work that he's put in. And look, he's got some skill too, right? And Rick Tocchet kind of alluded to it. Like, Kiefer Sherwood shot 1 million pucks last summer was the quote that Rick Tocchet had. And he's just constantly put in the work. And we have our commenters kind of going off about that too. Rabi Chowdhury in the comments saying Sherwood wasn't just given an opportunity to succeed in his early 20s, but he just kept working and working to get a spot. Mm-hmm. And now that Sherwood's a full-time NHLer and, he's made an impact with the Vancouver Canucks, I think something in like that 3 to 4 year range, if you get him around like $3-ish million a season, it's probably going to look like a bargain. In fact, it is going to look like a bargain, especially with the cap going up in a couple seasons here.
Oh, now you're making me think and stress out even more, man. Honestly, no, straight up, because if they don't, I just think he might like, because he deserves it, right? Like, he's one of those guys, you know how, like, we called Rick Tocchet a quitter, quit Tocchet? I think that's what you called him. I think you called him something else. I think he called him Dick Tocchet, but I switched it to Quick Tocchet. Again, join the Substack. I'm sorry for the third time plugging that, but you'll enjoy the read. If Kiefer Sherwood leaves the Canucks next season and, like, wants to go shopping on July 1st, all the power to him, because he's like a true journeyman, you know what I'm saying? And for him to get better and better at the later stages of his, like, 20s and early 30s, I mean, Trevor, how's that not motivation for you and I? I know you're the second best dad in the world and you have the greatest family of all time. And you're already doing great things, Mr. Financial advisor, Mr. Writer for the Vancouver Canucks. Oh, yeah, Trevor Beggs. Oh, so cool. I still got a full head of hair. Oh, wow. I make other girlfriends jealous. I'm Daddy Beggs. Oh, wow. What? I can peak later in my life, baby. I know I'm losing some hair. And if we have children, they probably will get bald by 15, right? But I got you, baby. I'll bring something else to the table. Okay, I got to go. Join the Substack. Trevor, finish off the show.
All right, Kyle, peace out. Now I'll wrap up the show here on Locked On Canucks. We're going to cut to a quick break here. On the other side, I'll touch quickly on the Canucks coaching search, which has been narrowed down. And I do want to touch about one thing that's very prevalent to Canucks fans, why we hate the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's coming up here on Locked On Canucks. All right, we're back here on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every damn day. And, one thing I've kind of wanted to throughout these playoffs is, trash other fan bases. But the comments today, it's just giving me a bit of arsenal for it. Hey, I just want to say first and foremost, we do appreciate all commenters here on Locked On Canucks. And, Darling in the comments today with, I got to bring up this argument because it is a main reason why people do hate Leafs fans. And hey, Darling saying, hey guys, longtime listener, just wondering how many cups the Canucks have had during their tenure in the league. Mike Laval, one of our beauties in the comments here on Locked On Canucks, shouting back. And then Darling goes, how many cups have the Canucks had during their tenure in the league? Look, when it comes to Leafs fans versus Canucks fans, you got to drop this argument because you got two losers crying to each other about Stanley Cups. I mean, the Canucks, yeah, they've never won one at their time in the league. The Leafs have also, the last time they won a cup, the Canucks didn't even exist. So that's one of the dumbest arguments out there. And look, I think the main reason why I dislike the Toronto Maple Leafs is the media coverage, right? You tune into TSN, you tune into Sportsnet. It's the Leafs, it's the Raptors, it's the Jays down your goddamn throats, especially with the Blue Jays and Raptors. It's Canada's team and we the North and all this crap. I mean, I'm from the West Coast, man. I'm 3,000 kilometers away from Toronto. Why do I got to cheer for the Toronto teams? And I mean, for me, especially when the Canucks were good in the heyday, you were hearing stories about Jason Blake and Vesa Toskala. But first, let's get to Vesa Toskala starting for the Leafs. Like, get out of here with that crap. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the Leafs. And look, between the Leafs and Canucks, I remember talking about this a few years back. With Pettersson's downfall, this argument is sliding a bit. But I think of Austin Matthews, mooning the security guard in the same year where Pettersson donated his All-Star winnings to charity. Pettersson needs to do some more charitable things to help him out nowadays. But oh man, that's what comes to my mind between the Leafs and the Canucks. Let's get to the Canucks coaching search. Okay, so Elliot Freeman reporting this morning that the Canucks coaching search is narrowed to 3 or 4 candidates, and that he expects that Manny Malhotra and Marco Sturm will be 2 of the candidates as the Canucks get to second interviews. Now, of course, the Abbotsford Canucks still in the AHL playoffs. So if they're going to hire Manny, you got to think it's going to be when this run is done for the Abbotsford Canucks, who do start round 3 on Friday at the Abbotsford Center against the Colorado Eagles. Now, Marco Sturm is an interesting one. I was reading up on Marco Sturm a little bit here, watching some tape from the Ontario Reign. I mean, Marco Sturm pretty much implements the same system that the Los Angeles Kings have. So it's a very defense-heavy system. He's known for being a good communicator, got by with the players. A lot of the similar things you're hearing about Manny Malhotra. So you can see why the Canucks are interested in both candidates, right? Both have defense-first structures like Taka. They're both considered good communicators. But when I look at the two, sure, Marco Sturm has a bit more head coaching experience in the AHL. He's now done it for 3-4 seasons. But is there some bad juju there with Marco Sturm? Manny Malhotra, again, literally bled for this franchise. He's been a Canucks assistant coach. He is, he's bled the blue and green for a long time. Marco Sturm was acquired by the Canucks and then traded by the Canucks 6 games after just coming here. I think Marco Sturm's got a reason to, not be a fan of the Vancouver Canucks. And sure, there's only 32 head coaching jobs out there. You want to get your hands on any head coaching job possible just to get in the door. But after the Canucks were just left by a coach who didn't want to embrace the hard, quit talk it, he quit on this team. Do you really want to bring in another coach who, again, is doing it maybe more for himself and his opportunities as a head coach rather than doing it for the Vancouver Canucks, which I see Manny Malhotra doing? All right, let's get to a comment or two before we wrap up here on Locked On Canucks. Man, let's get to Joseph O'Brien in the comments. You sound like a 13-year-old boy. Knock it off. I don't know if he's talking about me or Kyle, but I'm a 13-year-old at heart, man. So it's hard to kill a child inside of yourself. Hang G on the other end saying the week's off to the right start with Locked On Canucks, baby. And I do want to get to this comment by Dan Jardine. Bennett will stay in Florida unless you grossly overpay, but he is the guy I would go after. And I think most of our commenters are saying the same thing. Look, playoff hockey and winning cups is what matters most. And, Mitch Marner, to his credit, has stepped up in the playoffs. He's a pretty good two-way player. But Sam Bennett, just really brings that element that the Canucks lack. And, I would have my concerns about chasing a player with a career high of 51 points in the regular season, but he steps up in big games, and that is what matters most. Now, to Dan's point, will Sam Bennett even leave Florida? I mean, look, we had this whole conversation last offseason with Sam Reinhart, and he eventually ends up staying in Florida. Look, if the Florida Panthers can afford to keep Sam Bennett, they will do it. That being said, they do have some other big free agents like Aaron Ekblad comes to mind as well. If they have to choose between the two, who are they keeping? They're a little thinner on defense than they are at forward. But losing Sam Bennett would be a big loss to the Florida Panthers. My money would be on them trying to figure it out some way. I mean, you get no state tax. You get a bit of a leg up. But if Sam Bennett hits the open market, the Canucks should be chasing, but don't be shocked if that number ends up, pushing the $10 million mark. Are you okay with that? Would you prefer Marner or Bennett? Let us know wherever you interact with podcasts. For now, we got to get out of here. Shout out to you and you for tuning in. JS, I love it when you pipe in with the Go Canucks Go. If you like what we're doing, go subscribe and like this video on YouTube. On the podcast side, go follow us and leave a 5-star review. Again, link in the bio for the Discord, link in the bio for the Substack. Boom, bam. We'll catch you next time here on Locked On Canucks.
Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.